Get ready, because today I'm going to share 5 secrets that will help you write a gripping and believable protagonist. And I'm doing this because too often I see writing advice that focuses on surface level stuff like making a character likable or listing out their traits. And while those things can help, they're not enough to create fleshed out characters who matter. Now, if we want to make a great main character, we need to dig deeper. We need to connect them to the story, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Secret number 1 is to start with the villain. This is critical because the hero-villain dynamic shapes the story. First of all, the villain is usually the one who drives the plot. They want something, they cause trouble, and that forces the hero to respond. Then boom, the story becomes a battleground where hero and villain fight to determine the fate of their world. I suggest crafting your hero and villain at the same time because they should represent two sides of the same coin. If you're creating one, you might as well create the other. That way you can see what kind of common ground they have and how their differences create conflict. For example, Indiana Jones and his rival Belloc are both brilliant archaeologists, but Jones believes historical artifacts should be studied, while Belloc believes they should be sold to the highest bidder.
I am a shadowy reflection of you. It will take only a nudge to make you like me, to push you out of the light.
The great thing about villains is that they give your hero a tangible opponent to battle against. Not only does this challenge your main character, but it also brings your plot into focus by having the villain create obstacles that the hero must overcome. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, what if my story doesn't have a villain? If that's the case, then the setting, society, or even the protagonist himself can be the main source of conflict. Think about the movie Good Will Hunting. There's no villain here. Instead, the main character Will is his own worst enemy, and his deepest fears repeatedly cause him to make bad decisions that prevent him from being happy. Secret number 2 is to have your main character represent a value. By a value, I mean a belief or idea. Stories are essentially battles between ideas, where the hero and villain represent opposite sides and clash until one value triumphs over the other. The simplest example would be something like good versus evil. In Return of the Jedi, Luke represents good, Emperor Palpatine represents evil, and when the Emperor is defeated, good triumphs over evil. Now, obviously, Luke represents other values in addition to goodness. Things like idealism, self-sacrifice, hope, courage, impulsiveness, and so on. Well-rounded characters typically represent multiple things, so pick at least one key value and consider other things your protagonist might represent as well. These values are important because they link your character to the story's theme. Theme is essentially the bridge that connects fiction and reality. It's the meaning beneath the surface. It's what the story is really about, and it's why a story is relevant to us. For instance, Spider-Man isn't about two guys in costumes beating each other up. It's about identity, self-discovery, and of course responsibility. Peter Parker represents the responsible use of power, while Norman Osborn represents the opposite. And those values clash again and again until the final confrontation is settled. Secret number 3 is to give your main character everyday goals and plot goals. Most writers know that a main character should have a plot goal. Usually this plot goal arises early on when the villain kicks off the main conflict and forces the hero to react. The hero then spends the rest of the story wrestling with the main conflict until it's resolved. Now, sometimes we get so focused on plot goals that we ignore the everyday goals that make a character human. Everyday goals are what characters strive for outside the main plot. Things like doing their job, being a good parent, going to school, chasing dreams, finding love, keeping love, and so on. We need these things to make our characters feel like well-rounded human beings. Real people have tons of stupid little goals that shape their lives, and if your character just sits around waiting for a plot goal, they can end up feeling like a chess piece rather than a person. Secret number 4 is to have your main character make meaningful mistakes. Nothing is more boring than a protagonist who makes superficial mistakes that have no impact on the story. Meaningful mistakes, on the other hand, bring a story to life. Not only do they make a character more believable and relatable, but they also force the character to respond, and that's where things get interesting. That's when characters reveal their true selves and grow for better or worse. One of my favorite recent movies is The Substance, which follows an aging actress who injects herself with this special serum that creates a younger version of herself. Only one self can be active at a time, and they have to switch consciousness every 7 days. Soon the younger self enjoys fame and success, while the older self becomes jealous and resentful. Before long, the younger self gets greedy and ignores the 7-day rule, and this leads to some gruesome consequences for her alter ego. The mistake not only has severe impact, but it causes the two selves to go to war against each other, and mistakes keep piling up while their bodies, minds, and relationships suffer. Using mistakes to develop characters and drive the plot is one of the best things a storyteller can do, but you have to be willing to let your protagonist fail. Allow them to surrender to their flaws and learn lessons from their worst choices. And finally, secret number 5 is to create contradictions within your protagonist. A couple years ago, I did a video on Robert McKee's book Character, which contains a chapter that examines his 3 layers of complexity. I'll put a link to the book in the description below, but basically there's the outer layer, which is how characters present themselves, the inner layer, which is what characters consciously desire, and the hidden layer, which is what characters subconsciously or unknowingly desire. Now, in order to create a complex and realistic protagonist, we need to create contradictions because, let's face it, human beings are full of contradictions. There are athletes who smoke, there are married couples who hate each other, and there are people who want good things for bad reasons. The trick to coming up with contradictions is to have these layers clash with each other. Walter White from Breaking Bad is a great example of this. In the early part of the show, his outer layer, his characterization, is that of a dorky high school teacher. That outer layer conflicts with his inner layer, which desires to cook meth in order to provide money for his family. And at the same time, his conscious desire to support his family conflicts with his hidden layer, which subconsciously desires power and a legacy. So in other words, he looks like a total loser, tells himself he's the ultimate family man, and deep down he yearns to be a powerful drug lord. Now, not every main character needs to be as layered as Walter White, but the point here is that we need to embrace contradictions. Not only do they make characters more interesting, but they also allow us to tell fresh and unpredictable stories. So I hope this helps. Question of the day: who's your favorite main character? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, please pick up a copy of any one of my books and be sure to leave reviews on Amazon. Entry Wounds is great if you like thrillers. It's about a guy who picks up a haunted gun and he can't put it down till he kills 6 people with it. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Maybe hit that thanks button for me. And as always, remember to keep on writing.